Okay. So this is just basic bike maintenance. The number one thing, if you guys want to do this in front of your your race, if you got a week prior to the race, or on a daily basis, not even, I shouldn't say daily, but every other day. If you're riding rain and even just the dirt roads and the pollen and everything around here, you want to make sure your bike's clean. That allows you to check for cracks and things like that. So you can take it outside, you can rinse it down with the hose. Just don't blast any of the areas, so your bottom bracket, wheels, headset. Don't hold pressure water out of that because it'll get inside the bearings, it'll ruin it. But if you just kind of give it an initial rinse off, that'll take care of some of the dirt. Park Tool. Next thing you want to do is you want to clean your drivetrain. Park Tool makes a chain cleaning kit. You can fill this up. They've got a citrus chain bright. If you fill it up to the line, and you connect it down at the bottom here, and it snaps on. And then you just back pedal. And what this will do is it'll take the chain and take the grease and everything right off of the chain. Then once you've done that, it says 30 times. Do it, do it a while. Rinse it off with water again, and if you have to run it through again, run it through again. Just do it until the chain is pretty clean.
How often did you say you do that?
Cleaning the chain, it depends on what kind of bike lube you use. If you use a wet lube, which tends to be sticky, you're going to have to do it more often. If you use a dry or an all-purpose lube, you're not going to have to do it as much. But you don't want to see a bunch of grit and grime stuck to your chain, because that'll end up wearing the cassette out. It'll be like sandpaper. Every time that chain comes around, a piece of sand will take more and more life out of your cassette. And normally, you can replace the chain on the bike every 2,000 miles, 2,500 miles. And if you do it that often, you won't have to replace cassettes, because cassettes are a whole lot more expensive than a chain repair is. You can generally get, say, 2 cassettes out of a chain. 2 chains for every cassette.
So you didn't actually say how often though. If you had to say for a rule.
If I generally try and degrease the drivetrain once every 2 weeks, just to keep it smooth. Guys that are riding, if you're riding a lot, then you're gonna want to do it once a week. And the cleaner you keep it, the more life you're gonna get out of it. But then as soon as you're done, and they also make, and we use spray degreaser, it's called Purple Power at the shop, that we spray the chain rings with and the cassette. And then use a brush, Park Tool's got brushes. They've actually got a whole brush set to wash your bike. You can use either Turtle Wax car wash, put it in a bucket, and then douse it and do the frame, with the brushes and get in the cracks and crevices and everything like that, just to keep the bike clean. They make a gear brush. On the back of it, it's got these teeth, and that's for going in between the cogs. You can kind of just spin the wheel around and let the dirt and clean out everything from between the cog sets. Now this will work on everything besides Campy 11 speeds. If anybody's running Campy 11 speeds, you got to come up with your own type setup. And then you've got your brush afterwards. Just run through, clean that off. Brush down the chain rings and get the back sides of them too. People neglect that. And then also remember, shift the chain while you're doing it, because otherwise you're going to end up having 1 dirty cog and 9 clean ones, and then it's going to look, you're going to end up picking more dirt up. And then hose it all down with the water, with a hose again. And then everybody should have chain lube. You want to lube your chain once a week. Once a week, every week and a half, depending on again how long you're riding, how often you're riding. And also, because you sprayed everything off with degreaser, you're going to want to hit the pivot points on your derailleurs. Anything that kind of moves and had grease in it, you're going to want to replace. You don't want anything to run dry, because then you're just going to end up ruining it, and then it costs you a whole lot more money. For chain lube, have a rag handy, clean rag, and then you got the rollers in the middle of the chain. All you're going to want to do is just drop the chain lube on the middle of the rollers. Pedal it through a couple times. And then take a rag and just clean off the excess. You don't need to douse your chain, because that's just going to build up on the sides of it. and you're gonna, it's gonna pick up more dirt and just ruin the life of the chain. So just in the middle. Once the bike's clean, you can kind of run through it and look, inspect the frame. If you got a carbon frame and you've been hearing creaks and pops and things like that, kind of check where the areas work. I mean, just check, especially if it's an old carbon frame. If you've had it for a number of years, say 5 or 6 years, you're going to kind of want to look, in the stress areas, make sure nothing's cracked. You'll be able to see a little hairline crack, and that's what cleaning your bike allows you to do. You'll be able to see that areas. Then, after you're done with that, I generally go through, kind of squeeze the brakes and make sure everything's tight. All of your brakes on your bikes are going to have these barrel adjusters, and what that'll allow you to do is you can dial them in or out, and that'll let you set your tension on your brakes. So say if they're running loose because you got cable stretch, because these are just steel cables, so they will stretch after time. That's why your shifting goes every once in a while. Your brakes start to feel mushy, or the bike starts to shift on its own. It's just a matter of steel stretching. So you can dial them in and out, your preference, things like that. Also, one thing you want to do, check your quick releases. Make sure those are tight. A lot of creaking and popping, and say the wheel, if the wheel moves in the dropout, check the quick release. It should take a little bit of effort to pull it off, and then a little bit of effort to close it back up. But if they're tight, you won't have any wheels falling out, and you won't have any creaking. A lot of people think that headset noise, like if you got a pop up here when you stand up and climb, a lot of people think that's coming from the headset. A lot of times it's coming from your front quick release. This wheel's just ever so slightly moving back and forth. Check the quick releases. Then, next thing you kind of do is if anybody's got, this toolkit, like I said, has got a bunch of different tools. This is a Trirent. It's a 3-way. It's got a 4, 5, and 6 millimeter Allen set on it, which is the most common Allen set you're going to find on any of your e-bikes. Run through and check your handlebars, make sure they're tight. Give them a snug. If you've got carbon handlebars, things like that, you don't want them really, really tight because you could crack the bar. But just snug so they don't move at all. Check the you got your seat post, mounting bolt, seat clamp. You can check the back of the brakes, make sure everything's tight, make sure nothing's loose, nothing's popping, nothing's moving on it. And they also give this is an 8 millimeter on this side, and a lot of this will do your cranks. A lot of times if people are hearing some creaking from their bottom bracket, a lot of that is because your crank will come loose. So all you would need is the 8 mil, insert that, and just snug it up. That'll take care, and you'll know. I mean, if it's really loose and you're spinning, you'll know that that's where a lot of your creak has come from, and you might need a new bottom bracket at that point in time. The kit also includes a spoke wrench, but that's a little bit more in depth than I want to go into. Pedal wrench to get pedals on and off. If anybody switches, say you go to spin class or anything, you need pedals from your bike. The easiest thing to do is, if you've got a bike stand, you can use it, or you can set it on the ground, and then it's a little bit taller. But either direction, from the right or the left of the bike, to loosen, you just pull up. You just lift up. Anybody sees it loosen, because both sides are different. It's a right and a left-hand thread. So that way your pedals don't fall off while you're pedaling down the road. And then just to tighten it back up, you just pull forward towards the front of the bike. It's included as well. Make sure your tires are aired up. Nobody wants to show up race day with a set of flat tires and